following is a non-verdict-based research versus show. The stats of the individual characters are not taken into consideration when determining aspects of the fight. However, the characters themselves are going to be represented in their fullest capacity outside of stats. This is versus universe. The Nintendo Wii. Sure, you'd find your family-friendly Mario and Kirby and the like on the console, but some people saw the motion-controlled controller and asked themselves, how can we make people kill with it? So, what would happen if two of the most boisterous, brutal beat-em-ups protagonists ever to grace the family-friendly Wii clashed in a fight for the ages? Travis Touchdown, the No More Hero, versus Jack Cayman, the #1 Death Watch player. Let's begin. In the small town of San Destroy, California, there lies an underbelly of crime that permeates throughout the entire population. Everyone everywhere seems to be getting into the action, and as such, there's an enhanced need for one occupation in particular: assassins. However, it seems they're too busy killing themselves in their ranked matches than helping actually assassinate people these days. One day, one of the higher-ups of the United Assassins Association, Sylvia Crystal, met a man that she thought would make an excellent assassin. She convinced him to buy a knockoff lightsaber on an online auction, and he actually managed to kill the 11th ranked assassin in the association. The man's name? Helter Skelter, but he's not that important. Hell, he's not even a boss fight in the game proper, relegated to reveal trailer status only. So sad. No, instead we're talking about his killer dummy, Travis Touchdown. Travis took his newfound power in his eBay beam katana, a blade capable of easily cutting through human flesh. Quite handy for someone in the business of murdering everyone he comes across. After fighting his way through the number 10 assassin, death metal, Travis wanted only one thing from Sylvia.
If I become #1, will you do it with me?
Classy. But that's just the kind of guy Travis is. He lives in a shitty motel called the No More Heroes Motel. What? Anyway, he also lives there with his gigantic anime collection. His favorite is Pure White Lover Bizarre Jelly. Add that to my Google searches for this series that inevitably gets me arrested. And his cute little cat, Jean. Travis loves his cat. And she's a rescue. What a good guy. Except for the murder, but hey, that comes with the job, as they say. Said job wasn't exactly cheap either. With each step he rose through the ranks, he had to spend a ludicrous amount of money just for the chance to fight the next assassin. Sometimes he just kinda did yard work or picked up trash, but sometimes he had to kill some fools. And lucky for him, he had the right tools for the job. From his master, Thunder Ryu, he learned the art of both sword fighting and professional wrestling. Through the mystic ways of the Yakuza, Travis learned many techniques, such as the suplex, the full Nelson, the power slam, the power bomb, which is very different from the power slam, and the pile driver. Unfortunately, Travis is much more of a melee fighter, so he relies on his beam katana to create openings for him most of the time. He is a filthy otaku after all, fighting wasn't always his forte. But now, with his master's teachings, he has more than enough to take on anyone that stands in his way, or anyone he gets paid to kill. That's not to say Travis kills everyone. He sort of famously has this weird relationship with this guy named Bishop who runs a local VHS shop, and of course he has the whole thing with Sylvia. Ugh. But when Travis really wants you dead, which is like all the time, he relies on his trusty beam katana. This efficient weapon cuts through flesh like no other blade before it, cleaving through bodies like a hot knife through butter. If you're tough enough, you can tank hits from the katana, but once a decisive blow has been hit, it's game over. Travis has multiple beam katanas at his disposal, such as the super long and hard Peony, or the dual-wielding Rose Nasty. But his main weapon of choice is Bloodberry. The single-bladed beam katana has a fixed range, as is capped at the blade's end like a battery. Unlike a battery, however, these katanas need to charge, and Travis is more than willing to show you how he intends to do that. Jesus Christ. You think this disparity would create openings in his fighting style, but Travis is usually good at picking the right time to charge his blades. Usually. With these wrestling moves and his beam katana, Travis took down the 9th ranked assassin, but the 8th ranked was a different story. Shinobu Jacobs, one of the few women Travis had to fight, was the only person he spared on his first crusade to the top, partially because Travis has sort of a pseudo-samurai-esque code when it comes to killing. See, he cannot kill you if you're either a woman or a student, and luckily for Shinobu, she was both. So he spared her life despite winning their fight. Along the way, his killing spree was actually halted by a mysterious man with an Irish accent. But enough of that, it's finally time to face down the #1 ranked assassin, Darkstar. And now he's dead. Cool, that's fun. However, the reason why he was killed is kind of beyond fucked up. So this character, Jean, who the cat is named after, is Travis's half-sister. And her backstory is just all kinds of fucked up. So fucked up that the game will not tell you it unless you speed down the cutscene where she explains it all. And if the series where your main way to recharge your weapon is masturbation thinks is a step too far for it, it's a step too far for me. Just some really fucked up stuff happened to her, and her killing Darkstar was beyond justified. Oh, and Darkstar is her and Travis's father. So, since Jean was now the #1 ranked assassin, Travis had no choice but to fight her. She wasn't a pushover, but Travis claimed his victory in the end. Though he didn't get that oh-so-coveted fucking, he came away from the experience with a new lease on life, taking a leave from the Association of Assassins, and being dubbed the No More Hero. But then that Irish fucker comes back and he's Travis's brother? Fucking kidding me? Mr. Sir Henry motherfucker here is no pushover, as he's sort of a Virgil to Travis's Dante, and in the end it's even unclear who wins this fight. Concluding in the throes of battle, the first game ends, leaving, no room for a sequel. And then they made a sequel, so the Bishop guy I mentioned earlier, he got fucking murked by some assholes from the Pizza Bat Foundation. So now Travis is back in the ranks, now ranked 51st, aiming to get his revenge against Bishop's killer by beating the top-ranked assassin, Jasper Bat Jr., who also just so happens to have killed Bishop by proxy, rising through the ranks with the help of Shinobu and Henry for some reason. Eventually, Travis managed to get his revenge, but it left him hollower than when he started his crusade. In fact, this whole ordeal, along with the killing of most of his family in the first game, led him down quite possibly the worst path in his life, making him leave the No More Heroes motel and retire to a secluded area of the woods, content to live out his days in a shitty trailer. He still has his cat, though. That's nice. Until another guy came in, claiming that Travis killed someone close to him. Jesus Christ, this is happening too often now. It's becoming a pattern. I mean, there's 10 years in between when Travis killed Bat Jr. and when this guy showed up, but still. But because this is a wacky video game series, Travis and the assailant, who revealed himself as Batman, the father of Batgirl, one of the people Travis killed on his way through the ranks of the first game, both get sucked into a video game console called the Death Drive Mark II. And with the use of the Death Balls, LMAO, they both gathered from completing games in the console. They were able to resurrect her. Good for them. On this particular adventure, Travis got a new piece of equipment to go alongside his beam katana, his Death Glove. Outfitted on his right hand, it has the capacity for singular chips that can raise Travis' stats however he sees fit, whether he wants more attack power, a longer battery, a faster recharge, etc. It also gives him access to certain powers that he normally wouldn't have, such as a dropkick? Sure, Travis may be a gifted wrestler, but straight fighting was never his forte, I guess. Then he gets a ring of bullet fire that tracks where his opponent is and continually pelts them. Okay. Then he gets a command grab, fine. It's fine. And then he can slow down time, okay. I'm starting to see how nobody seems to be able to kill this dude. I mean, it's kill or be killed in the world of Sand and Destroy, but Travis makes all of his opponents look like pushovers, or rather, all of his opponents that aren't Henry. Yeah, after that whole Death Ball fiasco, Travis returned to Sand and Destroy, and while not immediately resuming his work in killing things, a fucking alien invasion called forth by Max Middleman Elon Musk happened, and he got into some E.T. bullshit. But E.T. came back and is looking to conquer her, so it's up to Travis now. And given the sudden shift in genre, it only makes sense that Travis would gain some upgrades to his arsenal. And in this case, those upgrades include a full set of Super Sentai armor. I mean, it wasn't out of left field, but Jesus Christ. In his full green mode, Travis most notably gets access to flight, as well as a super amped version of his beam katana. Why he doesn't just stay in this form, I'll never know, but I guess that's just the eternal question of every Sentai series, ever. With these powers, he managed to defeat every one of these elite aliens one by one, ending with the climactic finish against Fu, the aforementioned E.T., and then also Max Middleman, Elon Musk, evil CEO man, but that's not about the waters. And Henry, he came back after seeing Thor or some shit, and was super into murdering Travis. And he kind of succeeded, but also not really. It doesn't seem like Travis killed Henry either. Weird, but all this to say, nothing much phases this season killer, Travis Touchdown, Santa Destroy's own No More Hero.
Everybody deals with grief differently, right? Some people fuck at funerals. I cut off heads.
Imagine, if you would, A world that has gone mad. Violence permeates every corner you can see within the mile, and you can't go 2 steps without some punk trying to chase you with a spiked baseball bat. This wasn't always the world the people of Arrogant City lived in, but it became that when a terrorist group called the Organizers released a deadly disease on the innocent bystanders of the city and forced them to kill each other in exchange for a vaccine, lest they die in 24 hours. And so, yet another Death Watch became the main event in the great US of A, and where Death Watches are, one man usually follows: Jack Cayman.
Who, me? Ready as always.
Former Marine and ex-cop. Gross. Jack has plenty of experience killing fools for money. Now ain't that funny? He rightfully thought he'd fit right in with this Madworld. Showing up without warning 3 days after the initial rioting, Jack found himself having to fend off many foes, but with his particular set of skills, he'd have no trouble taking down anybody that gets in his way. Jack, infamously, does not have a traditional set of arms. Instead, his right arm is outfitted with cybernetic enhancements, including enhanced speed and strength, but the coup de grace of this arm isn't its general versatility in the throes of combat, but instead the fact that it has a motherfucking hidden chainsaw in it. Like most chainsaws, it is exceptionally efficient at killing people, or damaging those kinds of people that aren't special in some way. Bosses. Doesn't one-shot bosses. The catch, however, is that this chainsaw won't stay out forever. It runs on its own power supply, and while the supply can recharge, using up all its energy can leave Jack defenseless against more tricky enemies for a little while. But even then, Jack's truest weapon are the streets of Jefferson Island themselves, where he manages to weaponize basically anything and everything. Spiked baseball bats? Sure. Train cars? Of course. But even soda bottles aren't immune from the former Marine. His intuition for improvising serves him well in Death Watch, as it has its own varying point system that reflects how diverse your means of attack is on your opponent. And to rise through the ranks to reach number 1, Jack had to use all the tricks in his book. So much so, in fact, that shortly after arriving on the scene, Jack was scouted out by the illustrious Agent 13, an anonymous spectator of the games that bid on Jack, seeing the potential in the man. Little does he or anyone else know, Jack has another voice in his ear, Amala, Jack's backup and partner. She's Jack's guy in the chair, essentially, finding out information for him so long as he stays alive. And Jack's pretty damn good at staying alive, even in this scenario. He worked his way up through the city until arriving in an Asian town. There, he met a straggler not participating in the games, a man going by the name of Leo. Leo here is a doctor trying to survive after treating people with a disease the organizers released, until Jack arrived on the scene and inadvertently saved him. Jack left the man alone with a pistol, aiming his sights at rising through the ranks of Death Watch once more. As he fought through, the commentating duo of Kreese, Kreeley, and Howard Buckshot Holmes were there at his every moment, forcibly commentating on every single fucking thing Jack was doing at the moment. I mean, it really leans into the sporting aspect of it all, but damn guys, can you shut up? I know way too much about you both. At least you're usually funny, but don't make fun of game developers. That's not very epic. Throughout Death Watch, at various points, a man that only goes by the name the Black Baron, who is probably just a guy doing blackface, Jesus Christ, and his assistant introduced special events called Death Watch Challenges, in which the contestants, Jack mainly, have to kill a certain number a certain way under a time limit, and doing so will give them a massive boost in their points. These boosts allow Jack to continue further in the games, eventually reaching and rescuing, quote-unquote, the mayor of Arrogant City's daughter, who was out partying and enjoying the bloodshed below her. Yeah, it's becoming more and more apparent that this Death Watch exists solely as entertainment for the upper class at this point. Kind of like a game. A Squid Game. Eventually, it was revealed that Leo, the scared doctor from earlier, was working with the elites to permeate these games and keep them going. He and his team did an extensive search on Jack and found something incredible. He was the champion of the former Death Watch. Yeah, who better to send him to deal with a threat than someone who's dealt with it before? And, with time and experience on his hand, Jack managed to work his way up to rank 2, despite the organizers trying their damnedest to kill him along the way. As Jack patiently waited, the number 1 ranked was finally revealed to him, the Black Baron himself, the self-proclaimed reigning Death Watch champion. Despite the title going pretty easily to Jack, was waiting in the ring, alongside thousands of people lining up a gigantic stadium awaiting the bloodshed. It was Jack's hardest fight fought yet, the Baron taking and dishing out anything and everything Jack had given, then some. However, in the end, Jack managed to land a decisive blow against the Baron, and with a baseball bat meant for him, Jack blew him right into a bullseye, and the crowd went wild. Now the official winner of yet another Death Watch, the organizers wasted no time in attempting to murder him in cold blood. However, Leo betrayed his organization, still playing the defenseless doctor from all that time ago. Unfortunately, Jack saw through his ruse. He repeated his mantra one last time for the man, that he doesn't help people, he kills them. After this, no one knows where Jack Cayman went. All we know is that he left Jefferson Island and Berrigan City for good afterwards. However, if there's ever another Death Watch, you know that Chainsaw Madman will be there in a flash and will defend his #1 title. Truly, this is a mad world, and Jack fits right in.
I don't help people. I kill them.
We open to a shot of a gigantic stadium with a huge crowd surrounding a boxing ring in an octagonal pattern. Lights all adoring the place as the crowd is riled up for some carnage. Over the loudspeakers, Kreeley and Howard Buckshot Holmes speak to their captivated audience.
Welcome, ladies and germs, to the biggest crossover event of the century.
Yeah, that's right. We got 2 entire death games contributing to this one. Kreese, I love America.
Me too, Willie. Me too. In this corner, representing Death Watch, it's the madman with a chainsaw in his hand, Jack Cayman.
Jack begins running up to the ring, waving reluctantly at the thousands of people cheering his name as he sees himself on the gigantic screen in the back of the stadium.
And in the other corner, his opponent representing the UAA ranked matches, it's Travis Touchdown!
Travis appears running out on the opposite side of where Jack came in, ducking under the side of the ring and doing a little roll before getting back up.
Yo, you my opponent? What's your name, man?
Jack takes a minute before responding.
Jack.
Well then, Jack. I can't speak for you, but I've been busting my ass to get to this point. This whole crossover was a stupid idea anyway. I can't believe Sylvia talked me into it. Usually it takes something crazy happening to me, but ever since we did it Downward Dog, she's been having a hard time convincing me.
Are you done talking?
Travis is noticeably taken aback by Jack's brashness.
I can be, if you're ready.
Jack takes the cigarette he was smoking out of his mouth and tosses it to the side of the ring. One of the many people adoring the ringside catches it and immediately faints, being starstruck.
As I'll ever be.
Very well. Let the games begin!
Then, they both rush at each other and begin to punch each other out, with Jack easily catching one of Travis's wicked blows with ease with his still intact arm. He then begins to grab Travis's arm with his other hand and swings him around and around and around until launching him into the air. Jack then jumps up and takes out his chainsaw, ready to end the fight right then and there. However, just in the nick of time, Travis activates his Bloody Berry and blocks Jack's chainsaw. The two of them come crashing back into the ring, getting back up from the aftermath of the attack.
Alright, you've got a few tricks, I'll give you that. But let's see how you deal with this!
Travis then takes out his right hand and points it at Jack. Seemingly, nothing happens until Jack attempts to move forward. He finds himself struggling to move forward, stuck in slow motion. Travis had just used his death cloak to slow down the area around Jack, and now he rushes in to deal some blows. Slice after slice, the ex-mercenary is at the mercy of Travis's attacks, until he finishes off his combo with a single
fuckhead!
And suddenly, on the giant screen, a roulette wheel appears and 3 cherries are lined up. Suddenly, Travis's hair glows yellow and he appears to have gained incredible strength.
Strawberry on the shortcake!
He attempts to take advantage of his newfound power, but Jack manages to catch all of his blows with his chainsaw. With every crack, a spark of electricity comes careening out, leaving the ring and killing some bystanders. As Travis's power-up runs out, so does Jack's chainsaw, as they both take a bit of a breather. Travis then goes to attack again, but his beam katana is out of juice. As Travis begins to charge his blade, Jack begins his next move, grabbing one of the poles at the end of the ring, lifting it over his head and hurling it at Travis. He does so and says,
"Let's see how you like this."
Jack then chunks the hunch pillar straight at Travis's head, causing the assassin to become dazed beyond belief. Jack takes this opportunity to absolutely wail on Travis, blow after blow, from his legs to his torso. Not an inch of Travis's body did not feel the wrath of Jack Cayman. And as Jack goes for the final blow with his now charged chainsaw, the arena around him lifts up and transforms into a larger arena. Travis wakes up from his stupor, only to hear something over the speaker.
"It's time for a Deathwatch challenge."
Now, normally we don't do these during ranked fights, but since we're going all out, we figured, fuck it, might as well.
Is that what you said to your ex-wife?
Yes, and I have a 14-year-old testament to my regret on that decision.
Well, this challenge is pretty simple.
A swarm of helicopters appear around the platform, and loads of goons surround Jack and Travis as they slow back into each other.
Kill more than your opponent.
Let's begin!
An entire wave of goons begins swarming the pair, and they get to work, cleaving their way through the countless rooks in their way. Travis, more methodical and patient. Jack, more gung-ho and abrasive. Eventually, their total tallies end up at the same number, 299.
Looks like we're even. Well, there's only one way to settle this.
For once, I agree with you.
Let's go!
They both lunge at each other, a single streak glowing bright as the chainsaw arm and beam katana clash. Suddenly, Jack's chainsaw arm comes flying off his right hand. Perplexed, he goes to reach for it, but before he can do that,
Henshin!
Travis transforms into his full green mode and grabs Jack by his other arm before dragging him miles and miles above the stadium they're both in. Jack tries to fight it, but his struggling rings dull against the durable armor of Travis. Travis then, in the silhouette of the moon, drops Jack, but flies faster downward than Jack falls, meeting him at the ring. He lifts Bloodberry up and slides Jack down his blade, slicing the ex-mercenary in two. Travis then notices that Jack's cigarette has rolled up to his foot, and, as a sign of respect, puts it out next to Jack's corpse.
You were a good fight, Jack. One I won't forget.
Travis then walks away from the ring, the newly crowned king of assassins, once again. The crowd bids farewell to the no more hero as he strides towards the exit. Suddenly, the light of Travis's beam katana goes out, as he now sees that the handle, and the hand holding that handle, were sliced in two by Jack's chainsaw.
Now we're talking.
He then winds up a huge punch, and BAM! Travis is sent flying into the air for Jack's mechanical arm. Jack then jumps up to catch Travis in midair, and punches him once again with the same arm, blowing him down into the newly dented ring. Travis sits up, dazed beyond belief.
Help. Help.
Sorry, kid, but I don't help people.
Jack then slowly strolls up to Travis, and as he is standing, lunges his chainsaw right into the assassin's heart, twisting it around to make sure the organ is destroyed. As he pulls away his weapon, Travis's corpse falls with a thud, and Jack turns away while lighting a cigarette.
I killed them. Now, thankfully, there isn't a lot to talk about here, so let's just make this quick so I can go to sleep. Both Jack's and Travis's arsenals are pretty evenly matched, to the point where both of their trump cards in the beam katana and chainsaw arm have the same downside, that they fairly easily run out of juice. Sure, Travis has more than just his beam katana and for sure can overwhelm Jack, but Jack has fought some crazy fucking shit, y'all. He fought two psychic people together and somehow won against them both. Not to mention his penchant for using the environment in ways Travis would have never thought of. As Travis, despite his demeanor, is a much more honorable fighter. Way of the samurai and all that bullshit. Jack fights dirty and basically will do and use anything to get a win. Which isn't to sell Travis short, full green mode is certainly something out of Jack's wheelhouse, despite him fighting astronauts before. And aliens. I guess both of them fought aliens. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I guess we gotta talk about Howard and Kreese. I tried to keep their involvement in the fight at a bare minimum, but man, it's hard not to when they have such boisterous personalities. Another thing I wanted to really bring out is Travis's respect for his opponents, and I wanted him to have that same respect for Jack. Vice versa, not so much. Jack is a pretty disrespectful motherfucker, but Travis for sure, especially with how the fight plays out. So overall, they were pretty evenly matched, but Travis had the edge in arsenal while Jack had the edge in versatility. So let us know. Actually, don't let us know who you think will win. I'm tired of asking that. Ask me how my day's going, please. Anyway, the trailer, bye!